Welcome to this deep dive into the Come Follow Me lesson for D&C 106-108 from the Speak Peace to My Soul channel.
It's great to be diving into these sections this week.
Yeah, and looking at these sections 106, 107, 108, well, if you just glanced at the headings, you might think, okay, this is all church administration. Quorums, presidencies, org charts.
Right. It looks very structural on the surface.
But as we really got into the Come Follow Me lesson and the materials around it, it just became so clear that this is actually about something much, much bigger.
Absolutely. It's fundamentally about Jesus Christ. It's about how we come to him, how we actually enter his presence. That's the real core here.
Exactly. Sections 106 and 108, they feel like these almost bookends, these real-life stories of men trying to figure out their duty.
Beautiful examples, like little parables in action.
But then section 107, wow, that's the massive revelation, isn't it? The deep dive into the priesthood itself and what it's truly for.
It really is the apex. It lays out the blueprint, you could say, for exaltation, all centered on the priesthood.
And that mission, that purpose, it's just laid out so powerfully in D&C 107, verses 18 and 19. It says the priesthood is there to unlock all the spiritual blessings of the church.
Not just keeping things organized, though that's part of it.
Right. And not just meeting schedules, but these spiritual blessings. The scriptures say it allows us, God's children, to have the heavens opened unto them.
Think about that. The heavens open.
And to enjoy the communion and presence of God the Father and Jesus the mediator. I mean, that's everything.
It is. It's what some call the authority of presentation. The priesthood, in its fullness, its purpose, is to prepare us, guide us, through ordinances and covenants, right up to the point where we can stand before the Lord.
So all the structure, the callings, the quorums we read about.
They're mechanisms, tools, if you will, to help us reach that ultimate spiritual goal. When the Savior teaches about his priesthood, he's teaching us the path back to him, the path to perfection. That's the mission.
And that's what we really want to unpack today. I love how this lesson is structured, putting that huge revelation in 107 right between these two very personal stories in 106 and 108.
It's a brilliant design. It shows that the big institutional revelation has to lead to personal action, doesn't it?
It has to land somewhere. It connects perfectly to that call later in 107, verse 99, to learn his duty and to act in the office in which he is appointed, in all diligence.
Exactly. So let's start there with those bookends.
Okay, section 106 and 108. Two men, Warren Cowdery and Lyman Sherman.
Right. Two different men facing very different kinds of challenges, but both going to Joseph Smith asking, essentially, what does the Lord want me to do? They're great models for us.
Let's start with Warren Cowdery in 106. Now, he's Oliver Cowdery's older brother.
But their paths into the church were so different. Oliver was right there from almost the beginning, the scribe, deeply involved. Warren.
Well, Warren was different.
Yeah, he was established. He was someone in Freedom, New York, had prestige. That context is so important. Jared Halverson really paints this picture well. Warren owned the apothecary, he was the postmaster, he even had the first brick house in town. Think about that status.
He was Mr. Respectable.
Exactly. And that respectability, what his peers thought, that was a huge weight for him. He was deeply concerned about public opinion, about aligning himself with this new, frankly, often criticized church.
It was vanity, wasn't it? The scripture calls it the vanity of his heart. He worried about what thousands of respectable people would think. It wasn't necessarily a lack of belief deep down.
More like a fear of the social cost. He even told Oliver, I have 1,000 times wished I could have that evidence that you have had. He didn't have those same overwhelming spiritual confirmations, at least not initially.
His conversion was slower, more gradual. Watching the saints, seeing their faithfulness through persecution, spending time with Joseph, it softened him.
And that makes the Lord's counsel in section 106, verse 6 so pointed. The Lord promises him joy when he has bowed to my scepter and separated himself from the crafts of men.
The crafts of men. What do you think that refers to specifically for Warren?
Well, likely his vanity, his focus on reputation, maybe even his profession, that brick house. All the things that tied him to worldly status. The Lord was asking him to trade that earthly respectability for heavenly treasure.
A big ask. But when he finally committed, he didn't just sit back. He actually wrote to church leaders.
Yeah, saying, hey, our branch here in Freedom, it really needs some leadership.
Maybe hoping they'd send someone else, someone less concerned about local opinion.
And the Lord's response, through Joseph, is basically, Warren, I'm talking about you.
That I am the they moment, as you called it. Bam. He's called as the presiding high priest for that area, like a bishop or stake president today. A big deal.
And called to devote his whole time to it, a high and holy calling.
And notice the urgency in verse 4. Gird up your loins, so the Lord's coming doesn't overtake you as a thief in the night.
That's not just about the second coming, is it? It feels more immediate. I think so too. It's about keeping pace now. The work is hastening, and we can't let worldly concerns make us spiritually sluggish. We need to be ready, personally accelerating.
So what's the promise for him taking this leap, facing his fears?
If he humbles himself, overcomes that vanity, the Lord promises grace and assurance. Verse 8. And ultimately, a heavenly crown, far better than that brick house.
Grace and assurance. The Lord knew he needed that specific comfort, didn't he? That promise of divine help.
Absolutely. The Lord meets us where we are. Okay, now let's shift to Lyman Sherman in section 108.
Okay, Lyman. He's already in a leadership position, presidency of the 70. But he comes to Joseph too.
Yes, but his struggle seems more internal. Not worried about what others think, but maybe feeling inadequate, anxious about his own standing before God, whether he's living up to his vows.
And the Lord's response is immediate. Verse 1, Verily thus saith the Lord unto you, my servant Lyman, your sins are forgiven you. Just like that.
Isn't that powerful? And then verse 2, let your soul be at rest. It highlights this huge issue many of us face. We might hear the Lord's forgiveness, but do we actually accept it? Do we let our souls be at rest, or do we keep carrying the guilt?
It reminds me of Enos. When he was forgiven, his guilt was swept away. He trusted it because he knew God couldn't lie. Lyman needed that same trust.
Exactly. Trust God's word more than your own feelings of inadequacy. Once that forgiveness is established, then comes the instruction.
Right. Verse 3, Arise and be more careful henceforth in observing your vows.
Careful. That word jumps out, moving from maybe a casual approach to covenants, passive perhaps, to being careful, conscientious, deliberate, active.
And then verse 7, this is such a comprehensive charge. Strengthen your brethren in all your conversation, in all your prayers, in all your exhortations, in all your doings.
That word all, it's huge. It means everything. Every word, every action, every prayer, every interaction needs to be focused on building others up, pointing them to Christ. It requires putting off the natural man constantly.
It's the daily grind of discipleship, isn't it? Jared Halverson shared a story about this verse.
Oh, the one about the returned missionary.
Yeah. This elder came home, started slipping back into old ways, maybe some coarse language, casual criticism.
Happens easily, unfortunately.
And his former mission president saw him, quoted this verse, D&C 108.7, and just asked, Elder, are you strengthening your brethren in all your conversation?
Oof. Talk about a wake-up call.
Right. He realized that even seemingly small things, casual comments, were undermining his duty. It wasn't just about the big Sunday actions. It was about the all.
Constant, comprehensive focus on Christ, making every part of life a ministry.
So looking at both Warren and Lyman, you see the Lord meeting their specific needs, providing grace and assurance for the public challenge, forgiveness, and a call to carefulness for the internal one. He supports us in whatever he calls us to do.
Beautifully put. These personal stories really set the stage for understanding the divine power and organization detailed in section 107.
Okay, section 107, this is, well, it's a landmark revelation on the priesthood.
Absolutely. And it's a fantastic example of how revelation unfolds, isn't it? Line upon line. Orson Pratt talked about this. The Lord reveals things not all at once, but from time to time as the people progressed and were counted worthy.
Yeah, the Lord wants us to seek, to ask, to be ready. You see that here because the first part, verses 1 through 59, which details the hierarchy, actually came later in 1835.
Right. After the quorum of the 12 had been organized and they needed that clarity.
But the second half, from verse 60 onwards, outlining the basic offices, that came earlier, back in 1831, setting the groundwork.
Growing as the church grew, as understanding increased. So the very first thing this section clarifies, verses 3 and 4, is the name of the priesthood.
The holy priesthood after the order of the Son of God.
That's its true name. That's the most crucial identifier. It connects the authority directly to Jesus Christ himself.
And the reason for the change is so instructive, too. They started calling it the Melchizedek priesthood. Why?
Verse 4 tells us, out of respect or reverence to the name of the Supreme Being, to avoid repeating his sacred name too often.
Wow. That speaks volumes about their reverence, their desire to maintain a sense of the sacred.
It really does. And it makes you pause and think, doesn't it? How do we approach sacred things today? Sacred names, titles, temple covenants, ordinances. Are we careful? Are we maintaining that deep reverence? It's essential for accessing spiritual power.
A really important self-check. Okay, then verses 1, 5, and 6 lay out the basic structure. Two priesthoods.
Melchizedek and Aaronic. Verse 1 calls them the two grand heads. The Aaronic is also linked to the Levitical, which historically dealt more with the specific temple duties under the law of Moses, kind of a preparatory phase.
And verse 5 is key. All the other offices we know, bishop, 70, high priest, elder, are appendages to the Melchizedek priesthood.
Right. Elder Oaks clarified this really well. There's fundamentally one priesthood, God's power and authority. The Melchizedek priesthood is the overarching umbrella that encompasses all of it.
Okay, so if that's the structure, what's the power? Verses 18 and 19, this is the core.
This is the core. The Melchizedek priesthood holds the keys to all the spiritual blessings of the church.
And that list, it's incredible. The mysteries of the kingdom revealed, the heavens opened, communing with the General Assembly and Church of the Firstborn.
Let's pause on that last one, the Church of the Firstborn. That refers to those who achieve exaltation, the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. Communing with them means participating in that highest state of being.
Mind-blowing. And the climax of the list.
Enjoying the communion and presence of God the Father and Jesus the mediator. There it is again.
The authority of presentation, bringing us right into God's presence.
That's the ultimate purpose. Everything that the Melchizedek priesthood does is meant to prepare us, cleanse us, and ultimately present us worthy before God.
We see this power in the life of Melchizedek himself, right? The JST of Genesis talks about his faith.
Incredible faith. Power to break mountains, divide seas, command the elements, and crucially, the power to stand in the presence of God. That same potential power is inherent in this priesthood order today.
Which really makes you ask, like you said, are we living up to that privilege? Are we seeking God's face through the means he's given us?
A vital question for every priesthood holder, and indeed for everyone seeking those blessings.
So if that's the higher priesthood, what about the lesser priesthood, the Aaronic, verses 14 and 20?
It's called lesser because it's an appendage to the greater, as we discussed. Its keys are focused on the ministering of angels and administering the outward ordinances.
The letter of the gospel, specifically baptism for the remission of sins, and the sacrament which renews that covenant.
And here's where you see the beautiful synergy. The Aaronic priesthood handles justification, getting us clean, lifting us out of the spiritual pit through repentance, baptism, the sacrament, aided by angelic help.
Okay, justification, getting right with God initially.
And the Melchizedek priesthood then handles sanctification, the process of becoming holy, spiritually refined, moving us up the mountain, preparing us for God's presence.
Aaronic lifts us out of the hole. Melchizedek guides us to the peak.
That's a great way to put it. They work together perfectly on that path. And connecting it back to Melchizedek himself, he was a Zion builder, just like Enoch before the flood. This priesthood power is the foundation for creating a people holy enough to dwell with God.
Okay, so we understand the priesthood's name, its power, its purpose. Now, how is it organized at the top? Section 107 explains this came out of necessity.
Right, verse 21. As the church grew, structure was needed. The Lord established the first presidency and the quorum of the 12 apostles, the traveling high council, to lead, organize, and critically, to preach the gospel to the world.
Verse 22 is so powerful, talking about the first presidency, 3 presiding high priests. How are they to be viewed by the church? They are upheld by the confidence, faith, and prayer of the church.
Those 3 words are packed with meaning. It's our sustaining vote fleshed out. Let's break them down.
Okay, confidence. What does that imply?
Competence. We express confidence in their abilities, their wisdom, their vast experience, their consecrated lives. Elder Holland spoke about the incredible caliber of the brethren, their combined expertise and devotion. We trust their leadership capacity.
So it's not blind agreement, but trust in their competence. Then faith.
Faith speaks to their spiritual calling and integrity. We believe they are called of God, that they seek His will, that they are striving for worthiness and meekness. We have faith in them as inspired servants, not just managers.
And finally, prayer.
This is the active part of sustaining. It's not passive agreement. It's like Aaron and Hur holding up Moses' arms during the battle. We actively petition God on their behalf, asking for strength, wisdom, and protection for them, knowing the immense burdens they carry.
Confidence, faith, prayer. That's what it means to sustain. Powerful. Now, the quorum of the 12, verse 23, defines their specific role.
Yes, special witnesses of the name of Christ in all the world. Their primary charge is apostolic, to bear that witness globally. Verse 35 says they hold the keys to open the door of the kingdom to all nations through the proclamation of the gospel.
Taking the message everywhere. And then presiding over everyone.
The president of the church, verses 91 and 92 are clear. He presides over the whole church, and he's described as being like unto Moses.
What does that signify, being like unto Moses?
Well, Moses led Israel through direct revelation. He received God's law, spoke for God, mediated the covenant. The president of the church holds that same position as God's mouthpiece on earth for the entire church.
And verse 92 lists his unique titles: seer, revelator, translator, and prophet, possessing all the gifts of God which he bestows upon the head of the church.
This confirms that while priesthood authority is distributed, the ultimate keys, the right to direct the entire church, to receive binding revelation for everyone, rests solely with that one presiding individual. That ensures order and clear direction from God.
So we have this clear hierarchy, but then Section 107 introduces this fascinating concept of councils and, well, it seems like a paradox at first glance.
It really does. It blends equality and hierarchy in a way that's unique, very different from typical organizational models.
Okay, let's look at the equality part first. Verse 24 says the 12 are equal in authority and power to the first presidency.
And verse 26 says the 70 are equal in authority to the 12. So horizontally, these quorums hold equivalent priesthood authority.
But then vertically, there's clear direction. Verse 33, the 12 act under the direction of the presidency, and verse 34, the 70 act under the direction of the 12.
Exactly. So how does that work? How can you be equal in authority but still operate under direction?
The historical examples really help make sense of it. Think about when a president of the church passes away, like President Kimball.
Right. The moment he passed, the first presidency dissolved. Instantly. His counselors, President Romney, for example, reverted back to their positions in the quorum of the 12 based on seniority.
And at that moment, where did the ultimate authority rest?
With the quorum of the 12, which is equal in authority to the first presidency, there was zero gap in leadership. The keys seamlessly transferred to that quorum, led by the senior apostle, who was then President Benson.
It shows that incredible deference to order. President Romney, though revered, immediately recognized President Benson's position as the senior apostle holding the keys for the quorum. It's about keys, not personality.
A beautiful system ensuring continuous, unbroken authority. But what prevents this system, with its equal yet directed structure, from becoming chaotic or resulting in power struggles?
This is where verses 27 through 29 come in, the absolute requirement of unanimity.
Yes. Every decision made by these presiding quorums, the first presidency, the 12, the 70, when acting in certain capacities, must be, by the unanimous voice, to be valid and have power before God.
Unanimous, not majority rule, not compromise. Unanimity.
That's the crucial balancing principle. It ensures that even within the hierarchy, every voice matters profoundly. No decision moves forward unless everyone is united, having received the same witness from the Spirit. It forces reliance on revelation, not just persuasion or position.
But how? I mean, these are strong, intelligent leaders with diverse experiences. Disagreement must happen. How do they get from potentially strong disagreement to absolute unanimity without it just being, well, forced compliance or lowest common denominator compromise?
That's the million-dollar question, and the Lord answers it directly in verses 30 and 31. He lays out the spiritual prerequisites for achieving inspired unanimity.
Okay, what are they?
First, the foundation. Decisions must be made in righteousness and holiness. You have to be worthy to even receive the divine will. That's baseline.
Makes sense. Worthiness first.
Second, the interpersonal character attributes needed to navigate differences. Loneliness of heart, meekness, and long-suffering.
Loneliness of heart. That's an interesting phrase.
It suggests humility, maybe a willingness to stand alone in seeking God's will, not being swayed by group pressure, being single-minded toward God. And meekness and long-suffering, patience, humility, willingness to listen, prioritize unity over winning an argument. These take real effort.
So worthiness, then the humility and patience to work together. What's the third layer?
It's the full list of Christ-like attributes: faith, virtue, knowledge, temperance, patience, godliness, brotherly kindness, and charity. This list mirrors D&C 4 and 2 Peter 1. It's the path to obtaining the divine nature.
So becoming like Christ is actually the method for receiving unified divine knowledge.
Precisely. You can only achieve true, revealed unanimity when the individuals involved are genuinely striving to embody these attributes, to become one with Christ and therefore one with each other in understanding His will.
And the promise, if they have these attributes.
Verse 31, they will not be unfruitful in the knowledge of the Lord. Unanimity, achieved this way, becomes a confirmation of God's will. It overcomes individual fallibility. They wrestle, they discuss, maybe even disagree initially, but through righteousness and these attributes, they arrive at a unified, revealed answer.
Wow. Okay, so how does this apply to us outside of church leadership councils?
The most direct application is in our families. Elder Ballard taught powerfully about family councils. The family is our most important council.
And the principles apply directly, especially in marriage. You have that dynamic again, maybe a priesthood holder with a presiding role, hierarchy, but the divine mandate is to lead as equal partners, equality.
Exactly. Marriage is the ultimate test case for D&C 107's council principles. Ideally, major decisions in a marriage should strive for that same spirit of unanimity. It's not about taking turns being in charge.
It's about both partners seeking Christ's will together.
Using those same attributes, meekness, long-suffering, charity, faith, to bridge differences and come to a united decision that feels right to both, guided by the Spirit. Your spouse truly is, as one source put it, your blessing, and unity in that council determines the spiritual power of the home.
Okay, so we've covered the authority, the leadership, the process of unanimity. Section 107 also gives us some important historical and organizational details, starting with the patriarchal line.
Right. Verses 40 through 57 connect the priesthood back to the very beginning, confirming it was passed down from father to son, starting with Adam himself.
Adam, Seth, Enos, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, all the way to Noah. These weren't just names in Genesis, they were high priests holding the same authority.
And this lineage provides the context for that incredible event described in verses 53 to 56, the gathering at Adam on the Ammon.
Adam gathered his righteous posterity, all high priests, 3 years before his death.
And it wasn't just a family reunion. The Lord himself appeared. He comforted Adam, confirmed his identity, and calling as Michael the prince, the archangel, set him to be at the head eternally.
And Adam prophesied about his descendants down to the last generation.
It's a profound glimpse into the eternal structure and the continuity of the priesthood from the dawn of time. It shows the authority restored through crew. Joseph Smith wasn't new, but ancient and realistic. God has always worked through this covenant order.
Amazing context. Now, shifting back to the modern church structure detailed later in the section, verses 60-63 and 85-89 talk about quorum organization.
Yes, outlining the numbers for deacon 12, teacher 24, priest 48, and elder 96 quorums. And it highlights that dual role of the presidency we mentioned.
They don't just preside over the member.
They also sit in council with them, teaching duties, edifying one another. It's meant to be interactive, mutually strengthening, not just top-down management.
And the idea of splitting quorums when they get too large, like an elder's quorum nearing 96.
That reinforces the principle of individual care and ensuring every voice can be heard. The organization serves the individual, not the other way around.
Then there's the organization of the 70, verses 25, 93 to 97.
Also defined as special witnesses, working under the 12's direction with their 7 presidents. Their focus is clearly on taking the gospel out into the world.
And what's really striking is verse 96, looking ahead. The potential for more quorums of 70, maybe 7 times 70, if the labor in the vineyard of necessity requires it.
Talk about prophetic foresight. As Jared Halverson noted, that's exactly what we see today. With the global church, we have multiple quorums of the 70 General Authority 70s and Area 70s, precisely because the labor in the vineyard requires it now. The Lord had the expansion plan ready from the beginning.
Incredible. And the whole section kind of culminates in verses 99 and 100 with this final personal charge.
Yes. After all this explanation of structure and authority, it comes back to the individual. Wherefore now let every man learn his duty, and to act in the office in which he is appointed, in all diligence.
Learn your duty. Act in your office. It connects right back to Warren Cowdery and Lyman Sherman asking, what about me?
Exactly. Institutional revelation, like Section 107, needs to be followed by personal revelation and diligent action. We can't be slothful. We need to be anxiously engaged and show ourselves approved unto God.
It brings it all home. We have this incredible power and organization, the order of the Son of God, given to bring us to him, and our part is to learn our specific role within that and act diligently. #outro.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've covered a lot of ground. The central theme really is that the priesthood, the order of the Son of God, is fundamentally an invitation and a path back into God's presence.
It's that authority of presentation, and along that path, the Lord asks for humility for service, like we saw with Warren Cowdery overcoming his vanity.
And he promises his grace and assurance, his forgiveness, like he gave to Lyman Sherman dealing with guilt. He provides the help we need.
And his work, especially at the leadership level, but also in our families, is accomplished through unity, that requires seeking unanimity through those specific Christ-like attributes.
Righteousness, holiness, loneliness of heart, meekness, long-suffering, faith, charity, all of it. Balancing equality and direction through seeking revelation together.
And the way this revelation itself came line upon line, section by section, as needed, shows that the Lord wants us to seek him, to ask, to engage with him. He reveals more as we're ready.
Definitely, he wants to be sought after. So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to ponder this week. Think about your own most important counsel, probably your marriage or your immediate family.
Look back at that list of attributes in D&C 107, verses 30 and 31. Loneliness of heart, meekness, long-suffering, patience, kindness, charity, all of those.
Which one of those attributes, if you focused on developing it just a little more this week, could help improve the unity, the decision-making, the spirit in your family council? Just pick one to work on.
That's a great invitation. Until next time, may we remember him more, follow him closer, and rejoice in his light. If you enjoyed today's study, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit from it.